Testing 1, 2. Okay, we're in. Do 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 do. Yeah, good morning. I had an appointment for, I have an appointment for 10. I can't make it. I'll call you back to reschedule. Casey Geller? Yes, ma'am. I'll call you soon. Bye. Hello? I'm almost there. Getting ready for it. I was on the line. So what's up? I would think so. Let's see what. Yeah, okay. No, yeah, I could do that. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. good plan. I'm not going to go brilliant, but I'm thinking very good. Yeah, no, well, I can call him up and say, hey, she's dead. You know? All right, I got to go. Okay, good morning. I want to make sure you can hear me. So if you can, just put a quick note in the chat box that you can, and then we can keep moving. All right, sounds like you can. Great, happy to see that. So typically, this is the size group that I get when we do these kind of orientations. Maybe it's too early in the morning, or people working. I don't know. You can tell me over the course of our short semester if there's a better time to do these. So anyway, let me share my screen with you, and then you should be seeing my the homepage of our course. And so that's a picture of me, old one. It was taken by a good friend of mine who ended up winning a Pulitzer Prize, which was pretty cool. I've been teaching here about 11 years. I've been teaching this course the entire time. I have done the summer intersession, May intersession, at least 8 times. And what I'm finding is if the students in the class stay up with all the materials, they seem to walk away with just as much as what we would present in a 15-week semester. So in this course, 1 day kind of equals 1 week in terms of the kind of work you have to do. So it's going to go by really quickly, and the challenge for you would be to keep up. The work is not particularly difficult. All right, somebody's got a mic going on. The work's not particularly difficult, and it will apply to your lives, so it's important for you to consider everything that we take a look at. It'll impact your life right away if you have living grandparents. A little bit down the road, it will impact your life some more when your parents get older, and eventually it'll impact your life when you get older yourself. So I came from the private sector. I love this job. I was able to create this online course some time ago, and we from two sections, we now typically a semester will have 22 sections. So this is a GE capstone writing intensive course, so there'll be a fair amount of writing, but not to the point where you're going to go crazy with it. So here's my information about how to find me. I usually am here on campus a lot, but if you want to come see me, talk about something, that's fine. Just let me know what day and times you have available, and we'll set something up. I'm in the FCS building, one of the first offices, faculty offices. If you don't want to watch this thing again or you miss something, here's how to get started with the course. And then all of this stuff pretty much should be done today. And then here's some support links if you need any of that, tutoring or library, or you have technology issues. And I'll put in the news area articles that may come up along the way that are relevant to what we might be talking about at the time. On the right side of the homepage is a calendar that shows you everything that's coming up. And I'll check these to make sure they're not locked, because they shouldn't be. But every day you'll know what's going on. So that's the homepage of the course. And we'll go to content next. And then content, I don't have too much in the table of contents. Have a syllabus, our tentative course schedule. It's usually pretty close. I uphold that. And then there's a couple rubrics. We're going to be doing reflections rather than discussions. I like to call them reflections, and you'll find out why in a minute. And then we're going to do a life review of an older adult, and that's kind of the signature assignment for this course. So starting today, think about someone you'd like to interview who's 65 or above. Oftentimes, my students will interview a grandparent, and they end up walking away from that interview with knowing more about that grandparent than they ever imagined, and usually much closer to that grandparent. It's I love reading these life reviews when they come in. So start thinking about that, and you can take a look at all of these as we go. So let's go into the syllabus and see what's here that I can tell you about. So that's me, and this is a description of our course. These are the learning objectives. The text is comes in 2 versions. It can come as a online version only, or a hardcover, or you can get a combination of both. So if you're friends with someone in the class and one of you likes to have a book in your hand and the other can work fine from a screen, you can buy one of these and split it up. We're trying really hard to keep the cost of books and materials down. So to that end, I've added quite a bit into our uh, course schedule. We'll see in a little bit. Here's information about how to get into Beachboard. You obviously, probably most of you know. So the way this will work for points, there's 625 total. Discussion boards are about 35% of that total. There's some quizzes that are about 17%. A life review paper, which we just talked about, is 21%. So there's only one big paper and the rest are shorter discussions, reflections. And then there's a final exam that's 14%. So I'm not heavy on exams. I really rather look at what you think about when you write down things. And I may do some extra credit. I sometimes do if something comes along. So it's the typical grading score. 90 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, and so forth. Communication, general questions should go through a form called Ask and Answered, and we'll get to that in a couple minutes. And I look at my email, seems like I live on a computer often, so I'll get back to you pretty quickly, especially in this short session. So I don't take late papers, because if I do that for one student, then it's not fair to everybody else. And unless it's a really extenuating circumstance, please be prepared to put things in on time. Some information about plagiarism. So on your life review paper, those papers will be reviewed for originality. So if you copy some other student's life review, there'll be some serious consequences for that. I don't see that very often. Withdrawal policy, attendance, this is all stuff you see in every course. Etiquette, since we're online completely, and I'm going to be asking you to respond to other students, I'd like you to do it in a respectful way, like you would if you were standing in front of them. And I monitor that. I'm in the discussion boards with you fairly often. Online for me is a kind of an opportunity to create a learning community where you never meet anybody or rarely meet anybody. And so communications are really important. And what I find is that when students write to each other, it's actually a better way to communicate in some cases than if you're sitting in a regular class, time's up, everybody gets up and goes 27 different directions, where you don't have much chance to interface with other people. In the online world, it's pretty good, actually. I think it's really good. We'll talk a little bit about how the reflections are supposed to go. More boilerplate. Try to give you everything you might need. Tech support. These are all the privacy policies and accessibility statements from all the tech that we use in this class. Here are the kind of computer skills that you should have. If you're in this class right now, then you definitely have it, have access, obviously. And then here's the written assignment, the life review paper. It's really kind of broken up into two pieces. So somewhere midway between now and the end of our little semester, I'm going to ask you to do a proposal, write a script, the kind of questions you want to ask, what you expect to learn, so forth. But we'll talk more about that as we get deeper into the course. And then the life review paper itself, final, is there, 100 points, and it's broken up 30 points for the interview piece, 60 points for application of a theory, which we'll talk about, and your reflection on the whole experience, what you learned from it. Oftentimes what you'll find is that you'll not only learn more about the person you're interviewing, but you'll also learn how to interview and ask the right questions, which is I think a very important and useful skill for all of you going forward. So that's pretty much the syllabus. Let's go back to the course schedule. So the course schedule is every day. So today, so 20th, we're doing our virtual class here right now. There's a reflection due tonight at 11 o'clock. Module 1, you'll see everything that you'll need to know about in the discussion board. This is a welcome message video kind of thing that I do. And we've talked about the syllabus. So this will be your reflection, and I'll show you where that is in discussion board 1. And then tomorrow here's a reading assignment, and we keep moving. There's a quiz, short quiz tomorrow. I do short quizzes where you're able to take them 3 times, and the highest score counts. Because it's about learning for me. It's not about the grade. If you learn well, you're going to do fine with the grade. So you can review this, and if there's any questions about it, let me know. Next week we have I guess a holiday. So that's it. Everything in red is kind of things that are due. So the life review plan, for example, is due on June 3rd. So that gives you a couple of weeks to start putting that together. And then the final day for us is going to be the 7th. And so on that day, you'll take the final exam. It'll be open all day long. You'll get you'll post, excuse me, post your final review, and I'm going to ask you for a little 3-2-1 survey, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So that is content. In the course media, we're not using. Class list is all of you. So in the Dropbox, there are just 3 items: the life proposal script, the life review paper, final paper, and then the 3-2-1 evaluation. Everything that goes in a Dropbox are things that only I see, and you and I are the only people that know what's written here. So you're not sharing any information with anybody else in the class, and anything that goes into the Dropbox. Quizzes are all here. And you're looking at my view of it. Your view is a little bit different, but there's a practice exam I'm going to ask you to take today. It does not count for your grade, except for the fact that you've done it. It's part of your reflection for today. It looks like a couple have already done it ahead of the curve here, because I did open the course. And then there's 5 quizzes. Again, these are take them 3 times, and a final exam take 1 time. And once you start any of these, you need to finish them. You can't just pause them and come back an hour later. Most of everything you're going to need in this course is going to be in the discussion board. And the first forum I have is this one called Ask and Answered. So any general questions about the course or about Beachboard or things that you may have read in the news or whatever can go here. You can just post them. I monitor this pretty closely, and I'll get back to you. And when I answer your question, everybody in the class can take a look at that, and chances are pretty good that if you've got a question, there's other people in the class that have the same one. So that stays up all of our semester. So module 1 is what we're doing today. It opened up this morning at 7 o'clock. It'll close tonight at 11. And here are the things you need to do. Create a profile with a picture. Most of you have pictures. If you don't, I'd appreciate you adding that. You'll be able to describe the organization requirements for the course, be able to discuss field of gerontology. Somebody have a question? because you got your mic on, and if you wouldn't mind turning it off, that would be great, whoever it is. Okay, so there's the practice exam. I tried to link everything so you don't have to navigate all over the place. So you can click on this and it'll open up. And it's really just don't study for it, just take it. First thing that comes to your mind is usually the right answer or the best answer. And you're not going to do very well on this because you haven't taken the course yet. But it does give you an idea about what's contained in this field, and it's pretty much everything you do in life. And it'll give you an idea about how much you know or don't know. And I don't want you to be bummed out if you don't know too much, because if you haven't taken this course before or a similar course, you won't know too much. And then for the assessments, I'm going to ask you to write a reflection and a bio to let everybody know who you are. Create a profile in Beachboard. It's 25 points. Here is where you'll post it, and you'll click on here and it'll open up, and you can either write it, whatever you're writing, you can write right in Beachboard, or you can put it into a Word doc and copy and paste it in. So that opens, it opened up this morning, at 6, and we'll close tonight at 11. All right, so what I'd like you to, and so this is like a two-parter for all of these. So what I'd like you to do is get your reflection done by 5 tonight, and then respond to another student by 11. And that'll be the kind of the format throughout the semester with these reflections. And then tomorrow we get into start doing some basic concepts of aging. And notice down here, there is no reflection due. So it's not every day that you'll have to do one of those written reflections. There is a short quiz, 3 times best score. Module 3, same way, just pay attention to what's in the discussion board. If it says no reflection, you don't have to write anything. These are the resources. There's a TED Talk here and another recording we've done. These are the things I want you to kind of look at. Module 4, why do we grow old? More resources. I do a lot of video stuff because I think it's a stronger approach than a textbook with no pictures and small type. So module 4, again, no reflection. Module 5, what happens to intelligence and creativity as we get old. You'll learn the differences between fluid and crystallized intelligence. And so here, there is a reflection due on the 24th, Friday this week. It opens at 6 in the morning. I used to have it at 8, but people said, hey, I go to work. Can I get in earlier? So we changed it, and it'll close tonight, that night at 11. And so these are the instructions, 2 or 3 pages, double spaced, 12-point type, something like that. And it's just I want you to imagine that you're an 80-year-old person and time is running out. So what happens is, just like the first reflection, you'll get it into the Dropbox or in the discussion board by 5 and respond to another student by 11. And you just keep coming back to the same place to go back in to respond. And it just goes on like that throughout the course. So there's not that, every day is not a reflection. If you have questions as you get into this, please find me and I'll get you an answer right away. So this is a discussion board. If some of the links aren't working, they should be. I just checked them, but sometimes things change. If they're not working, let me know right away and I'll get it fixed. Gradebook, which everybody is worried about, is so there's a practice exam. It does not count. This little thing here, excluded from final grade. So it's just a part of your first reflection to talk about how you felt about this and what you think the opportunities might be. And then the 5 quizzes and the final. Discussion board, we have one we're doing today, Getting Started. It's a 25-pointer. And then we have four bigger discussions that match your textbook. So the textbook is made up of, actually it's 12 controversies. We're only doing 10 in this short session. And so what I want you to do when this one becomes on week module 5 becomes due, is to take everything you've learned from the book and the other materials in the first 3 controversies and combine them into one written assignment. And all of these topics are related, so it should be fairly simple to just see, okay, this is this and it relates to this, like that. Controversy 7 is alone by itself, and that's the only one. All the rest of them are 3 chapters of the book. 321 eval at the end of the semester, I'll let you know what that's all about. The Dropbox stuff is life review and the proposal and the paper. And I think that's kind of it. Are there any questions that I can assist anybody with? Let me open up the chat box just to see. So if you have a question and you have a microphone, you're certainly welcome to ask it. If you don't have a microphone, you're welcome to just type in into the chat box, and I'll see it. Everybody will see it. And could I go over the controversies again? Sure. So let's go back to discussions for a moment. And so the way the text is organized, and this is a customized text just for us, so it's actually, the textbook is shorter than the original book because we found a lot of stuff in there that we didn't think was particularly important. So today you're just going to do what's here, the assessments. You're going to reflect on what your expectations are for the course, include your ideas about the practice exam, and get that in by 5 o'clock, and respond to another student. You can go back in, respond to another student, and call them out by name. I'd like you, every time you respond to somebody different. So you get to kind of talk to a lot of different people. And so the controversies really start here on module 2. So the basic concepts, this is the text, and this is really the first controversy. This is basic stuff, and then old age has meaning as a controversy. Why do we grow old is a controversy. And does intelligence decline with age is the first 3 controversies that you'll deal with. And this is where you'll put them all together in this kind of imaginary scenario that I've given you. Because all of these things, if you're 80 years old, you'll have a sense about what's going on, how sharp you are. Some people are very sharp, some people not so much. It's true pretty much of any age, but more pronounced as we get older. You'll kind of understand the theories of aging and why we get old. And then the first controversy is what's the meaning of life? And that's a big one, and everybody has their own answer. So there's no right answers on all of this stuff. I mean, this is what I want to really see and hopefully see in your reflections and your responses, is that you've given this some thought, and I'm perfectly happy for you to personalize this. So you can talk about maybe your grandmother's experience, some memory loss, for example, and do it that way, and it's fine with me. But don't share anything you don't want everybody else in the class to know, because it'll be open that way. So did that answer your question about the controversies? I think Kevin asked that one. Great, thanks. Now the next question is about the paper itself. So let's go here to content. And I want to just, and again, we've got a couple weeks before we get into this, but we'll take a look at the rubric, and you have access to this rubric all the time. So this is the one for the reflections on the controversies, tells you how you get points. One of the, yeah, glossed over that. So one of the things that I'd like you to do when you write your reflections is to find a couple other resources that relate to the topics that we're talking about. And I want one of those outside resources to be an older adult that you know, and you ask them the question, so how do you feel about your memory? Or what do you think life is about? What's important for you? And include that as one of your resources. And the others could be a video, it could be an article you see in a publication, but that will hurt you if you don't add outside resources. So I guess so that's this rubric. And then let me go back to the other rubric, which is the life review paper. And this one will take a little time to read, but so it's broken up into two parts. You're going to create a proposal first, and then you're going to actually do the interview and live by that proposal. Here's quite a bit of background information about this. You're going to, and again, I usually don't get into this until later. I'll probably do one or two more of these recorded sessions as well. Essentially, you're going to create some questions that you can get an idea about how that person's doing. But also, more importantly, let's say they have COPD now at age 72, and you find out in your interview that, well, they smoked most of their life. So there's a relationship between what's happening now and what they did when they were younger, when they were your age. And so those are the kind of things, and just get a sense about it, because I'm going to ask you to look at these people's lives. And when you interview them, you're really just taking a snapshot of their life. It's just a moment in time. Out of 65 years, an hour or two is not a big chunk of their life. So you're taking a snapshot of it, and you want to kind of find out what the history of that person is, their relationships, what was important to them, family, whatever. And then you're going to analyze kind of the person using what's called the biopsychosocial model, and we'll talk about that in the course before you get to that place. So the theory is going to be the application of the biopsychosocial. And as you can probably figure out, bio refers to their physical health, psychologically, how are they doing, and socially, are they isolated? Do they have a big group of people, family and friends around them? And all of those three aspects play into how all of us do. So let's say you play softball and every weekend or for a team here, and you have a fall and you break a leg or fracture or something, or sprain your ankle. So that refers to your biological issues, right? That's going to impact your social issues, because you're not going to be able to play softball until that heals up. And that will also have an effect on your psychological outlook on life. And you're going to be bummed by that. And how you cope with it is something to notice as you go through your life. Is this the only test, or can we order another? Oh, only text. There is no other real version. You can order the full text, but the pages won't line up with the assignments. And but this is the only textbook you have to buy. Everything else is in the course that we provide. for example, I want to use grandfather 63, godfather 63. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be uh, too strict on that. An older adult, you know, I mean, some people are, you can look at them and they look like they're older adults and they're in their 50s. And you can look at some others who are 85 and uh, look like they're 65. So a couple of years either way, I'm fine with that. So those questions, have I been able to answer them for you? All right, so it's a good question. I guess it's Mario, right? So the objectives are specific to what we're talking about in each of the chapters. They're in the textbook that we have, the custom book. The objectives are listed prior to the reading into the chapter. And you're going to take all of those and combine, typically you're going to combine 3 different chapters into one uh, assignment, written assignment, and be able to connect the dots between the 3 topics, like we talked about, meaning of life and intelligence and why we get older. All are kind of related, and you can do that in a narrative form. It's fine with me. It really should only be page or 2 tops, double spaced, for the reflection, because I think other important skill out there is to be able to focus your thoughts. So I don't weigh these assignments to come in. I'm really looking for quality rather than quantity, especially in these short semesters, because I end up reading the equivalent of War and Peace and having to grade it. So does that help you about the objectives? Great. All right. If there aren't any other questions, I'll let you get back to your lives. You got a few things to do today. Just stay with it. If I want everybody to emerge from this class with a toolbox full of things that they're going to be able to use, you'll be able to use the rest of your life. And I want you to get a good grade. And it'll be over before we even think about it. A regular semester for me seems to go by amazingly quick. So I'm available. You've got my email address. You got the asked and answered forum in the discussion board. I'll monitor that, and I really look forward to having a great class. If there's no other questions, do you require? Yes, I do. Gerontology is AP formatting. I'm not kind of a Nazi about that. What I want to see is if you cite something in your text, and it could be, and if you have an older adult and you ask them a question and you insert that answer into your assignment, just put personal interview as the source there, and then so you'll have them in the text, citations as you go through, and then at the end of your text, just have, in MLA it's called works cited, in AP we deal with the word references, and then just list the references. And these aren't thesis level stuff, so I'm not really too concerned about that. But I do want you to become sort of familiar with the idea of, if you're going to use somebody else's material, to give them credit, because you should expect that if someone uses yours. Does that give you your answer there? Cassie and Casey. And yeah, as far as what to call me, I mean, my name is Casey. I've got a couple degrees, but I wasn't born with those degrees, so Casey's fine. don't stand too much on ceremony with that. Great. I'm looking forward to working with you guys and what you have to say, and I'll learn a lot. I learn a lot every semester from you. Hopefully you learn a little bit from me, and walk away with like I say, some useful information. So it's not a kind of course that I'm going to ask you what Edison's birthday was and who his mother's maiden name was, because that stuff's not really important. But what is important is to notice the signs of Alzheimer's and how to deal with someone who's got it, to be able to see how to care give for somebody, to know the kinds of diseases that you can avoid. We have a lot of chronic disease in this country, and younger generations seem to be much more aware of it than my generation did. We smoked, we drank, we ate Twinkies, and you may all do that too, I don't know, but typically not so much. Okay, thanks very much for coming in, and I'm going to stop the share. And if there's no other questions, then have a great day, and I'll look forward to see what you got for me by tonight. It seems like I don't sleep much, so I might have everything graded by the morning. All right, I do too. To require reflections. Yeah, okay, APP. All right, APA rather. Okay, cool. Take care. You can just log out, and I'll just hang out and till you disappear. And if you want to hang in and ask me a question, I'm happy to do that too.